Just because you grow up doesn't mean you can't still play with toys. We're taking a quick peek at the Mean Green's Plastic Warfare. The Mean Greens is an online-only third-person shooter where the toys do the talking. It's somewhat reminiscent of the old Army Men games by 3DO, borrowing the same concept of the green and tan plastic figures fighting it out in a world much larger than them. Unlike those games, the Mean Greens drops any and all single-player attention and instead focuses only on multiplayer interactions. Virtual Basement took a huge risk with this decision when developing the game, considering that their only previous work was on Ark Survival Evolved, which is still in development. Multiplayer-only games completely rely on an active player base so that people who buy the game can actually access the content they purchased. There's no training, tutorial, nor offline bot match support, and yet I've not really had an issue finding people online to play with. The Mean Greens has been out for a few weeks at this point, and while its servers aren't overflowing with players, there's still a sizable audience who keep coming back. The reasoning for this is as simple as it gets. The game's just flat out fun. Anyone who's ever played a third-person shooter should find themselves in familiar territory and right at home with the Mean Greens. It controls as standardly as you would think a modern third-person shooter would, with jumping, crouching, rolling, and all that, making it rather easy to pick up and play. There's also a decent selection of maps to play on, with each map having their own unique game mode. That's the thing that I feel really helps the Mean Greens to stand out. Every map in the game has a unique setting and specifically designed around its game mode. The game has everything from your standard King of the Hill set in a bedroom to capture point on a train going around a Christmas tree, as well as unique game modes such as lighting candles on a birthday cake and thawing a dinosaur out of a block of ice in a freezer. That being said, not every game mode nor map really works all that well with the game's base mechanics. The Mean Greens is a bit of an odd game when it comes to its basic player mechanics. It's not a class-based shooter, nor something like an arena shooter with collectibles. Instead, every player spawns with every weapon in the game, and regains health and ammo over time. There are a total of 5 weapons in the game: an assault rifle, sniper rifle, shotgun, bazooka, and flamethrower, as well as throwable grenades. Each weapon has its own ammo pool, with the assault rifle having the most and the bazooka having the least, with only one rocket. If you run out of ammo for a weapon, it'll just regenerate over time, instead of you having to go find an ammo pack or pick up ammo from defeated enemies. Granted that you live long enough for your ammo to actually come back. Time to kill in the Mean Greens isn't super fast, but it's generally quick, and it can sometimes be simpler to just die and respawn with all of your ammo back than wait. Most of the game types focus on objectives instead of personal kill-death ratios, so killing yourself and respawning can actually be beneficial to your team. This inadvertently can cause some spam from some of the more powerful weapons, such as the bazooka, depending upon what game mode you're playing. There are some other problems with the game as well, such as how janky jumping feels and the unpolished melting animation that looks very out of place with how polished everything else looks. Out of everything though, the biggest issue with the Mean Greens, I feel, is its map design. Virtual Basement did their best to make every location look about as realistic as they could, with everything being made up of household items instead of specialized items for specific gameplay purposes. This leads to some maps being difficult to navigate, having wide open sightlines for snipers or the lack of flanks at checkpoints. Maps such as the kitchen, train, and bathtub are more likely to end in a stalemate from either team being unable to complete their objectives than they are for someone to actually win. The train map, in particular, is extremely linear, as well as being on a curve, allowing snipers to fire at the other team from many different locations, making it almost impossible to advance and capture all the points in the map. Other maps like the kitchen have open spawn areas where players can snipe each other as they spawn in, as well as having good sightlines on advancing enemies. The worst offender of poor map design is the foosball table. It's a neat idea, but the moving figures hardly give any cover, and it's mostly just a big open death pit. I could keep going about how the bathroom and our table are a pain to navigate with their respective game types, but I think it's easier to say that the ideas behind most of the maps are much better in theory than in practice. As such, I tend to stick to only 2 or 3 different maps, and as every game type only has one map, that's only 2 or 3 different game types, meaning things can get repetitive rather quickly. There is hope for more content since Virtual Basement have been constantly updating their game, so much so that I had to re-record some of my footage. The game launched without the ability to shoot while jumping. It's an odd choice, but understandable for how some of the maps were designed. Recently, that mechanic has been added into the game, as well as some animation blends and fixing network issues, even though the networking has been fantastic in my experience. The Mean Green's Plastic Warfare is a fun little multiplayer game with tons of heart and care poured into it that makes up for its flaws. For the first game from a relatively new indie studio, let alone the first multiplayer game, it's pretty great. Even the game's soundtrack has gotten special attention. Each map has its own unique track that plays up the game's fun aspect. What really surprised me was the music in the Birthday Party map. The map's game mode is attack-defend, but it can be difficult to figure out if you're attacking or defending sometimes as team colors switch sides. To help alleviate this, the devs wrote the instructions as lyrics to the song, and have them change depending upon what you're doing. If you're defending, then the lyrics will tell you to defend, and if you're attacking, the lyrics will tell you to attack. It's a subtle way to help push players in the right direction and really puts the icing on the cake. The game is available for $15, and that's not a bad price, but not really a good one either. Even though I really like the Mean Greens, I do have to say that it's lacking much of a reason for me to go back and play more of it. With every player having the same weapons all the time, just about every fight feels the same. There's not much variety to the game's basic combat, and while every map is unique, I've played each of them multiple times in the 5 hours I put into the game. I know what to expect from every match, and the game doesn't have much of a focus on teamwork to really make players have to work off each other. The main thing you're paying for with the Mean Greens at this point is potential. I see so much potential for this game either with updates or as a series down the road. Virtual Basement has shown that they have both the talent and love and care to make a fun game, and I can't wait to see what they do next. That's it for this quick peek at the Mean Greens Plastic Warfare. Thanks for watching. I'm MegapieMan, and I'll talk to you guys later. And what they do. Each character can only carry one item at a time in their active slot and can save an item for later use by using an adorable owl friend who can fly in and out of battle without drawing any attention to himself. The lucky little jerk.